We're looking forward to the game. Obviously, getting a chance to play on television and play against a power conference opponent as good as Washington State is a tremendous challenge and a great opportunity for our football team. I'm really excited to see how our guys are going to play. I think we're a much more talented team than what we've been in the past. But the thing I'm most interested in is seeing what type of passion we play with and what type of edge we play with, and are we going to get back to playing with a little chip on our shoulder? And I think that's the biggest thing for us. Win or lose, the score is going to take care of itself, but it's how we play the game that I think is really important to us and will dictate down the line, win or lose, how successful of a season we have. And so that's our process, and we're relatively healthy going into this game, actually very healthy going into this game, and feel really good about where we are. So with that, I'll take any questions.
You identified third down and red zone, I think, in camp, and I was just wondering if you could talk about why those are two numbers that you wanted to work on, and what are ideal numbers?
Yeah, third down and red zone were two areas. They're obviously critical areas, but when you go back and look at 2017, when we had a very successful season and got to the bowl game, we were ranked very highly in both of those categories, offensively and defensively. And then last year, we really fell off in both of those areas, particularly on the defensive side. We weren't as good offensively either, but didn't fall as far as we did on the defensive side. And it showed. When people got in the red zone, we couldn't stop them. And on third down, we were giving up high percentage. And you just can't win doing those things. They're too critical. For us, offensively, we'd like to be about 45% on third down. That would put you in probably top 10 in the country if you're doing that, which is where we were in 2017. So we'd like to get there again. And then defensively, if you could hold somebody around 35%, you're doing really well. And then the red zone, it's a matter of our defense not giving up touchdowns. Somebody gets in the red zone, they may get points, but hold them to field goals. Don't give them the quick touchdown. And offensively, we'd like to get more touchdowns than field goals, but we certainly want to come out of there with points. And I felt like last year we had way too many turnovers in the red zone offensively that cost us a couple of games. And so those are things we have to eliminate.
Coach, looking at the depth chart, Xander Yarborough listed as a starter. Are you surprised how smooth the transition was from tight end for him?
I really thought Xander could bring something to us, Adam, on defense because of his speed, his explosiveness. Where you're seeing him start this week is a little bit different because we need to get pressure on the passer this week. We're not playing a running team. We need guys that are really athletic up front, so we've really put our guys up there that we think can give us the best pass rush. Whoever we play next, it may be different. If it's a running team, we may want more size and strength up in there. But Xander certainly has acclimated really well, and a lot of that has to do with his attitude about making that move. He's had a great attitude. He's been a great team guy, which goes completely opposite of what you hear about all the time today in today's game. Kids transferring if they don't get their way and all that stuff. Here's a guy that accepted this role, embraced it, and now is being rewarded for that. And who knows? He may end up being an NFL prospect one day as an edge rusher because he does have all those abilities. He's long. He's got great length. He's really smart. He's a very intelligent player. And we're still going to use him on offense at times also as a tight end, which is what he was doing before.
Coach, how much does the matchup affect your game plan this early in the season as opposed to what you try to establish, like a general style of play?
Yeah, it's more about us than it is Washington State. Their offense poses some very specific problems to where your defense does have to acclimate. It's almost like playing a wishbone team in reverse. We've got to change our philosophy about slowly stopping the run and those type of things because they're not going to run the ball that much regardless. But you've got to be able to defend the pass. But offensively, we're just going to run our offense and do what we do and see if we can get better, and mainly not beating ourselves. If we don't turn the ball over and we execute and don't make mental errors, then we're going to be a hard team to beat because we do have talent. But that's what's been our Achilles heel in the past is us with self-inflicted wounds on both sides of the ball. And so that's what we want to eliminate. And you've seen that in the first couple of games. The Miami-Florida game, there's a tremendous amount of turnovers. Hawaii and Arizona, there's a tremendous amount of turnovers. Those two games have already been played. And that's what you don't want to see in that first game. Because once that gets started, it's hard to stop. And we want to get this first game to be a really clean game.
what stands out to you about Washington State's defense? We talked about their offense.
Yeah, it's team speed, Jason. I don't think they get enough credit for how good they are on defense. You know, they cause a tremendous amount of turnovers. They caused 24 fumbles last year. They recovered 11 of them. But if you cause 24 fumbles, I mean that's an extraordinary number. And what that means is they've got tremendous team speed and they're getting their hands on the ball. That is coached. You know, that they're ripping the ball out and causing those. So that's a concern. And the other one is the number of sacks they got. You know, they caused 38 sacks last year. I think in 2017 we caused 41 or 42, which was a school record here, where they were just shy of that last year. So they do a great job of rushing the passer, particularly their edge guys. They're very athletic. They play with tremendous passion, tremendous speed on defense.
Do they pressure, or are those guys just good up front?
No, they like to pressure. You know, they bring things in a lot of different ways too, and they can get there with just 4 or 3 because they're athletic, but they do like to pressure in different situations and play quite a bit of man coverage and those things. So your quarterback's got to be really sharp, know when he's protected and when he's not, and he's got to know when to get rid of the football. And that's one of the things that I really want to see Josh do is, when you have a bad play, when the defense just has a better play than you do, get rid of the ball. Take it and run it or throw it away, but let's don't take the sack and let's don't have the turnover. And if we can do that, it'll go a long way to helping us be successful.
Coach, you have a redshirt freshman center in Max Wilhite, but it seems like he doesn't play like a freshman. Do you worry at all about the atmosphere, the environment, the loud noises that could play a factor come Saturday?
Yeah, I think that's going to be a factor. It is a very loud stadium, particularly the student end zone when you get going down that way. And the Oregon game last year, Oregon started the game off with 3 illegal procedure penalties because they were backed up in that end zone, couldn't hear and couldn't get things done. So, obviously we're practicing that and working on those things. But I do like Max's maturity. He's a really bright young man. He's really intelligent. He's physically one of the strongest players we have on our team. I think he's only going to get better, as the season goes on. This will obviously be his first game starting, but he's got a very, very high ceiling, and look forward to seeing how good he can be.
Adam talked about Max. There's a couple offensive linemen that are getting their first start. Rodney, I saw on the back end is starting. Is that something is it going to be a process? Did you want to get some younger guys in the starting lineup, get them reps?
You talking about in the offensive line, or
on both sides of the ball? I mean, Rodney's starting, I think.
Yeah, well, it's a lot of those
first-year guys.
A lot of those guys like Rodney are guys that new redshirt rule really helped last year. He played in 4 games last year, but got the redshirt, and that was really valuable. That new rule, I think it's one of the best rules they put in college football. It's protecting kids from losing a year of eligibility if they only play in 1 or 2 games or have to because of injury, but it's also helping jumpstart their careers because they're getting a taste of playing and still getting the redshirt year. So that's what most of those guys have done for us. Max played in 4 games last year. Even if it's only on PAT field goal, at least they're on the field and they're getting a taste of that. Austin Young, same thing. So that's probably where you're seeing some of that, Jason. And then we're really just trying to get the best players on the field, the guys that have made plays in camp, the guys that have been consistent. And that's what I keep talking to our players about. There's a lot of guys that can show up 1 week or 1 game and look amazing. But the great player is the guy that shows up day after day after day the same way and week after week in games shows up the same way. And that's what we're trying to strive to get to.
How does Washington State cover? Are they a man-to-man team, or how do you feel about your receivers against them?
Yeah, they do a great job of mixing things up. They are not afraid to play man coverage at any moment, and they will lock you up. And then they do a good job of when you think you're going to get man coverage, they'll break out and play some zone type coverages. So that's something that's hard to predict for them. Our wide receivers are one of our strengths offensively. We need those guys to play well week after week if we're going to be a good offensive football team. So, doesn't matter who we play, those matchups are what we rely on.
Is that one of the areas where Josh has really improved his reading defenses and the game kind of slows down for him now?
Yeah, I think he's handling those things really much better. He knew, last year he knew our offense really well, but I think seeing all the defensive schemes you get and different coverages, things like that, was an education for Josh. But he learns really quickly. He very rarely makes the same mistake twice. So I think, you're right, Adam. That's where he's matured the most. The next thing for him is learning how to manage a game, and by that I mean, you know, not taking negative yardage plays, throwing the ball away, knowing when you're hot and getting the ball out quickly, changing protections, you know, those type of things that will be a process for him going through this year again. But he's much further along probably than any sophomore quarterback I think I've ever coached mentally. And I think he's running better. I've mentioned this a couple of times. I really think the weight room has helped Josh. He looks quicker, he looks a little bit faster than what he's been. You know, now he's not going to win any 100-meter races versus anybody, but I think that can be a weapon for him, is to step through the pocket and go get a first down. You know, I think he can do that much better than what he did last year.
Any other questions for Coach Martin?
Is Roy moving to nose? Is that just a 1 week thing to get the best player?
For this week, that's what that was about, is try to get him the best matchup on a center, and where he can use his speed and quickness. And obviously he's our best asset in there as far as size. You know, Xander's not big enough to go in there, but he's better as a tackle and things like that. So we got the luxury of moving Roy around, you know, because he's really smart. He understands the game. He can play several different positions.